Yo, what up? It's your boy Tim, aka T.O. Speaks.
It's your girl Yami, aka Yams B. Saying, and you are now tuned into Love and Theology.
I know I've questioned many things in this world, but I never had to question your love. So I know one thing's for sure. I can put trust in a real love, your love. Yeah.
For every mom who ever missed a meal so they would have enough to let their babies eat.
Yo, what up, man? It's been a week? Dang, it feel like we've been gone for longer than that.
No, I mean, y'all heard that episode with Patrick Preston. Excuse me. Oh my God. Y'all had an episode with Patrick Preston, so I hadn't been here for a minute, for real. But let's do testimony time. Testimony time.
Testimony. So, what? Tell me. You start.
No, I always say you
No,
should
you
start.
don't. I always start.
I know, because you like talking most. Go ahead.
Keep the camera, my bad.
It's fine.
Let's see. Well, we got a lot of testimonies, man. Honestly, man. Like this last since before Halloween has been like really testing. You know,
Well, we're gonna talk about that. But go ahead.
Yeah, but you know, hey, things are starting to come full circle with a couple more prospects. You know, they actually staying in touch with me. You know, so you know, good things are getting ready to come to the house. You know, so
I think so.
So, you know, that's my testimony. Just good things are coming. Good things are coming. And minds are changing. Perspectives are changing. So, what's your testimony?
I think mine would probably be... Oh, I got some really good feedback on my project. I mean, there's other stuff that we could talk about, but I got some really, for my thesis and stuff, I got some really good feedback for that. Also, this Sunday, so if you're watching this episode comes out on the 16th. On the 20th, November 20th, Tim and I will be guests on a radio show in Atlanta. It's called the Inspirational Love Hour, hosted by DJ Shade. With co-hosts Life Coach Sass and Miss Shelia. And it's on Hott923. So, and you can stream it. And we'll be there from 2 to 4. So that's pretty exciting. And I'm really happy. I'm actually really happy about it. We had to reschedule it because of the circumstances that we will be talking about. But I'll probably post the flyer somewhere here.
So check it out. Support.
Yes, please. You can stream it. You don't have to sit in your car to to listen. All you have to do is stream, and we would really appreciate it. And here, listen, we trying to put these numbers up. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we want them to feel like we brought the heat and the numbers, so that they actually ask us to come back. Song?
I just want to be successful. That's all I want to be.
I don't want to sing Drake because Drake don't like black women.
We just want to be successful. So, that's it.
I get it. All right, so let's get into, I guess, why we had to skip an episode last week.
Yeah, so when was it? Before
Halloween.
Before Halloween, like the weekend before Halloween hit. The week before. Well, yeah, the weekend before Halloween, because she went in the weekend before. Then you remember she went to school. Then she got back out. She went in the weekend before Halloween and got out on Halloween. Oh, yeah. So Tabitha ended up catching like the flu. Yeah. And from the flu, being that she has
a sickle cell
anemia
diagnosis, yeah.
The flu caused her the sparrow, right?
Mm-hmm. And here's so our daughter has sickle cell anemia, or has a sickle cell anemia diagnosis. I stopped saying that she has it. Right. And she had the flu, which we just attempted to treat at home. You know what I'm saying?
Right. The one time that we didn't do what the doctor said, and the reason why is because every time we do it, it never be anything. Yeah. So we was like, oh man, we got this, and everything was working out actually. Though honestly.
I mean, for the most part, it was fine. It's just that we could never seem to break her fever.
Right. Mm-hmm. So we took her to the hospital,
our emergency room. Yeah. That Saturday.
She was admitted until Monday.
Yeah.
She got on Monday.
With a fever still, right? But they said it was normal for a fever to still persist.
But what was crazy, what happened, it happened twice, because remember, her fever broke at the hospital, and then the same time she got released, you remember?
Well, we're still talking about the timeline. Right. So the first time she got released, and she still had the fever, and like throughout the week, we couldn't break the fever. She wasn't really feeling well. You know, things were still doing what they normally do.
Right.
And I think my mom, I have a sister. I have a lot of nurses in my family, or medical professionals or whatever. My mom is a social worker at a hospital. My sister is a nurse practitioner at another hospital. Maybe no, it's not the same hospital. But my mom had said something like, "Well, if it keeps going on, you probably gonna have to call them back and tell them that it's going on because this don't feel normal.
It wasn't right."
And I was like, the girl is...
And we giving her everything, every medicine you can give somebody.
Because the other part of it, too, is that she was experiencing pain. That was the first time she went into the hospital was because she was feeling pain, which is like, you know, with people with sickle cell diagnoses, like, they be giving them, at Tabitha's age, which is 8, hydrocodone, which is a heavy, heavy drug.
This was for the back, right?
Yeah,
what's the back?
The lower back. Yeah, the lower back was the first time. And then, like, the pain
went away, right?
The pain went away, but she still had the fever.
The fever can break.
So, my mom told us to basically call it back. I kind of gave it a day just to observe it. And then that Saturday,
she started falling, and
not falling. She was still saying, but something in me was just kind of like, let me just take her. Let me at least call the nurse to see what happened. At this point, we had given Tim and I had been taking kind of like breaks. You know what I'm saying? So that Saturday, I had told him, I was like, bro, go enjoy yourself, go hang with your friends, go do something positive because, you know, we've been dealing with a sick kid. That can weigh on anybody emotionally. And then the other part of it too is that, you know, Tim mostly works outside of the home, whereas I work inside of the home. I do my job at our house for the most part, right? So that was the other part. I was like, you know what I'm saying, just go ahead and, you know, having to be out on the field and then having to do work. It's
doing the Georgia-Tennessee game, so, you know.
Yeah, it was a big game. So while he's out there, I'm like, let me go ahead and call these people. And when I call him, the nurse is like, hey, just bring her in so we can go ahead and do some cultures or whatever. And I'm just thinking like, oh, we're going to be here for a couple days. We just left the hospital. If they would have saw something, it would have been fine, right? Lo and behold, we get there. First of all,
they decided to do X-chest rays this time.
Well, flu season is...
on 10.
I mean, to the point where, like, even if Tim had been with me, he wouldn't have been able to be here. Like,
right.
Or one of us would have...
only had one parent at the time.
We couldn't have two parents at the same time. Whatever. So to the point where they had people sitting outside of the hospital walls.
They put tents up, right?
Sitting outside of the hospital walls so that they could, like, you know, because two parents or multiple people couldn't be in the same space as these people. So with sickle cell, they pretty much rush you to the front of the line just because a lot of the stemming or the pain is stemmed from... or because of the pain crisis component. Right. So oftentimes we're not having to sit in a room with the rest of regular folks basically for an extended period. We get there, they do a chest x-ray, and they find out that she has pneumonia.
Developed pneumonia from the flu.
Acute chest. I guess of pneumonia. Honestly, I really don't understand the terminology. So I guess acute chest and pneumonia are the same thing.
The same thing, right.
So at this point we're like, well, this sucks.
So now they like she's gonna be admitted.
Cause at this point she had been at a school already for a week, right? And I don't know. So they do the chest X-ray. They get her in. Tim and I are rotating. She's there for a couple days. I think that Monday, Tuesday, you're with her. Right. And they're getting ready to release her because they're saying she hadn't had a fever for 2 days. She don't have no pain.
It was Monday. They was going to release her, yeah.
And she's going to be fine.
No fever for 48 hours. Doing good. No pain.
Doing really good. And one of their procedures or their protocol is to take a temperature.
A final vital check.
Right before, you leave. The girl had been 98 degrees for 2 days.
For 2 days. No pain.
And then skyrocketed to what?
103. And not only that, they had just checked her an hour before, and she was 98.
At this point,
an hour before.
At this point, I'm telling Tim, I was like, maybe she panicking, maybe she afraid, maybe it's something that we need to deal with her psychologically about, blah blah. Because this don't make no sense. How can you go from 98 to 103 all of a sudden?
But even when I mentioned that to the nurse even said, Yeah, anxiety can make it go up, but not to 103.
I mean, which is fair.
Right.
Which is fair, but at this point, we don't know what to do.
We don't know what to do, right? We just like, come on. But prior to that, Tabitha had said, when they said it's going to release us at about 8 o'clock in the morning, they said, y'all can go home. Tab was like, I don't know if I want to go home. It's like she knew something already.
Yeah, she might have knew something wrong, but that was also that was also the thing that gave us pause.
Right, to make like she just having anxiety.
Well, is she having anxiety? Like, because the pain that she experienced. One of the things that Tim and I had to really come to terms with is that the pain that she experiences as someone who actually has the diagnosis is not a pain that we are familiar with. Like now, maybe not Tim also. Because I done gave birth, so, but even that I can't appropriately assess what it feels like for your body to be working against you in that way, right? Right. So we were just kind of like, I think I was home at this point because we were rotating. So I'm at home and I'm just kind of like, like this sucks. Like what are we really going to do? So I think it's my turn.
So you come up there about 12 because I gotta go to work the next day. Right.
So I get up there and we're doing whatever we're doing, and this is where it kind of turned for the worse. And this is the part that I don't think I fully explained to Tim what was going on. And let me set the kind of tone because Tim going.
But this was not that day. It was Wednesday, right?
It was Wednesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday. So it had to be Tuesday, that day that
No, it was Monday that I was going to get released. And then she stayed over Tuesday. Went to work Tuesday.
That would have made sense then, because I came up Wednesday.
Remember, you stayed up twice. You stayed 2 days.
Okay. So at this point, she's doing moderately fine, still complaining a little bit of back pain or whatever. And sweetest nurse, but also young nurse, right? Or like newer to the game. Very sweet. Came in, and Tim is going to probably explain to you how mad he was with me, but I kind of stand on how I felt like I needed to handle the situation at the time. He's at work, right? Tim in his job has to deal with people. So tensions are already high. I don't need to stress him out even more. At this point, they go check her vitals, and she's breathing very heavily, like I had noticed it, but I'm not thinking there's nothing wrong. If they're checking her and she's like whatever,
but oxygen level was dropping, right?
Well, I don't know if that's what the terminology was, but they go and they check her. Sweet nurse says, "This, I don't know, right?" Like she don't say nothing, but she's also saying a lot. She walks out and she gets another person to come in. And at this point, like y'all gotta understand, both Tim and I are in school. I have a 25-page paper that is due. Plus I'm still working, right? So I'm doing whatever I'm doing, and I notice the second nurse, and I'm just gonna wait, well, what's going on? All of a sudden, it's a team of people, maybe 4 or 5, in the room at the same time. And what they're doing is explaining something to me that we had never experienced in our parental life with Tabitha and having this diagnosis, sickle cell anemia disease. For us, she had never had to have a blood transfusion. For us, she had never had a hospital stay. This was her putting these two back-to-back together. She had only stayed in the hospital twice. Once when she had a RSV.
She was like what? 2
One, and then 2 this time right here. So the whole time we're saying. And
now with RSV, I don't mean to cut you off. She stayed, but they had it under control. They just wanted to make sure she was fine before she left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, right. No, that's fair.
Right.
So those 2 turns, we have heard stories of people with sickle cell anemia. We have heard how it affects them. That hadn't been our testimony, and and honestly, if I'm honest, I had been holding on to hope that it was a misdiagnosis. So at this point, 5 people are coming in the room. All of them are kind of talking at the same time. One of the nurse practitioners is one that I think was at her sickle cell camp, but also one that we trust. And for context, she's black. So extra trust. You know what I'm saying? And she was, I guess she's at the top of her field. So she was talking about how she had given Tabitha as a patient to other people because other sickle cell kids were there with more extreme cases.
Right.
For context, at CHOA, the floor was filled because sickle cell kids, especially in this kind of situation, especially with the flu pandemic that had been happening, or epidemic, you said it was.
They call it epidemic. Now
it had been taking over, like it had been taking over kids anyway, but also kids with sickle cell.
Right.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say that the floor that we own, to give them more of an understanding, is the blood and disorder floor. They always put her with the blood.
Her people with sickle cell, yeah.
So you got cancer kids with cancer.
Yeah.
In sickle cell, so they just in there like the nurses are working overtime.
Yeah, no, they were working very, very hard. So again, all these people are in the room at the same time. I'm here by myself, and they're telling me, okay, poor doctor. She hadn't known that we weren't used to this. So she's like, okay. Or they're all talking at the same time. The pulmonary guy, everybody. Hey, we need to go ahead and do x-ray, chest x-ray again, which I was familiar with. But she said stat. So I'm like, every nurse, every doctor's office that I had ever heard that come from, they made a rush. You know what I'm saying? So x-ray, stat. And then, if it is what we think it is, we're going to have to put her on bypass. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, hold on now. My understanding of bypass is that like little chest breathing thing where it's breathing for them. The doctor is also saying, no doubt about it, she's going to have to have a blood transfusion. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I start crying. And she looks at me, and she's like, or I'm holding my breath. Like, and she's like,
you never did this before?
She's like, what are you? Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm holding my breath, and I'm like, we've never had to have this experience. She was like, oh my God. This whole time she thought, surely they're used to it. Mind you, maybe we had seen her maybe in the hospital visits or whatever, but nobody in this team knows us because we're never there.
We was always even when the doctor was like, this is our first time meeting you. This is weird.
They don't know us by name.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which you don't want them to, right? In theory. Mm-hmm. So she's calming me down, and she's telling me all of this. And at this point, I'm trying to hold it together because I can't cry in front of Tabitha. She's already like
scared
and nervous, and like she was already like they're poking me too much. It hurt. They had to reinsert her IV several times because she was sweating so much that it was moving her IV. Like it was a bad situation, and that particular day was the worst.
I'm gonna tell you what used to break my heart when they kept poking Tabitha, have a look at him, and say, "Please don't hurt me."
Yes.
Please don't hurt me. I was like, oh.
Don't touch me. Please don't hurt me. Please do not hurt me. Mm. So at this point, Tim is calling me, right? And I'm like, well, I can't talk to him because I'm frazzled. Let me hold off. Hey, let me call you right real quickly. The doctor's in here. And for us, that was kind of the, okay, that's cool kind of thing. So he's not here. I finally get to call him back. At this point, I think Tabitha had maybe gone down for the chest x-ray. I had to sign off on the blood transfusion. Whatever. And I wanted to check with him to make sure that he was okay with the blood transfusion. But I also then had to explain stuff. So I don't tell him the whole thing. I say, hey, her numbers are they're not going down, but they're not going up. They're concerned about that. They want to see if she'll have a blood transfusion. Mm-hmm. Is that the extent of what I told you? Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's the extent of how much of I told him. Because in my mind, he's not physically present. He still has to fight 85 and 285 traffic to get back up here. There's no way that I'm going to rattle his cage while I can't do anything to support him.
I appreciate that, but like for in future, just let me know what's going on.
But what?
No, what I'm saying, you just go ahead and tell them the story. So what happened after?
So that happened. She comes back. It's not as bad as meaning that they're not going to put her on bypass. Mm-hmm. But it's still kind of like we still need to put her on oxygen. And if the oxygen don't go well, then we're going to have to put her on bypass and medicate her in order to do that. That was...
I'm going to tell you something I never told you. You know that the doctor, the white guy you was talking to?
Yeah.
The next day I told him I didn't want him to deal with my daughter Tabitha no more. And I let I just never told you because it was something came over when I saw him. When I talked to him, I don't know what it was, but it spoke. Cause I'm gonna tell you, the one who nose tapped her, the black nurse, she said Tabitha right along was doing fine. He comes in and say it's messed up. So I'm like, I asked the nurse again. I said check her. He said no. I don't know why he said that. So I said I don't want him dealing with Tabitha anymore because what I felt was. I felt that he was just doing his job. I didn't want somebody just to check off the boxes. I wanted somebody compassion. That's what the black nurse did. You see what I'm saying? She began to show compassion.
Here's the thing, though. He just sat here and was like, well, I just don't want, I don't want, you got to tell me everything concerning my child.
I mean, that wasn't hurting the child.
Yeah, it does. Because you're switching out a provider, and I don't know that. So I could have easily saw him and been like, what the hell are you not doing?
He never came back up. But anyway, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Essentially, they took her down, put her on oxygen, said what the plan was, and thankfully she turned a corner. I think she had a blood transfusion with you, so I didn't even see it.
Yeah, the blood transfusion, it was just like getting an IV, you know.
But for me, it was like the worst possible thing that could have happened.
We never wanted that for her. You remember, you used to always say we never hope that she has to get a blood transfusion.
And there's still questions that I mean, they answered every question, but there's still kind of things about that are unsettling.
Like what? Like what do you think?
What if she had blood? What if she has to have another blood transfusion? The problem is the cross contamination. If she's getting blood from other people, you know, she's going to eventually have her own menstrual cycle. How do all things affect her in general? You know what I'm saying?
And I believe that if we would have held out, she would have got better. But I think we didn't want the pain to keep going with the acute chest, right?
Yeah, and her breathing heavy and her numbers being low. It just. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know until there's a reason for us to know right. That whether or not we made a decision that was beneficial to her or the right decision. I don't know. There's really no way. All I do know is that having a child in this kind of predicament will honestly test your faith. It will. Someone asked me, one of the things that my friends are really, really good about in this season was not just asking me how Tabitha is doing, but really asking me and be intentional about how are you doing, right. Kind of thing. And to be honest with you, she's been home since Saturday, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Tuesday is when we're filming this. And I still have a very heavy heart. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was rough, like, you know. And one thing I could say give a shout out to your friends, man. They was really...
Your friends too?
It was really there. I'm talking about they was our extended family and your immediate family. Your immediate family.
My mom, my dad, who doesn't. He's a texter. You know what I'm saying?
They had like a 24-hour prayer line going. 24 hours.
His church and my mom and my dad, my aunts.
Your uncle?
But aunts also that are not blood related. Mm-hmm. Like people who are like just kind of, you know, who we call auntie, uncle. Yep. Them. People from all over really. And not to mention, I got calls from people I went to high school with. Like I just... It was
the love that was shown, man.
But not just calls. People were sending, even now, us money.
Yep.
Like, hey, just so y'all have something to eat. Hey, do y'all got to pay for parking? We'll take care of it. Or
just because I'm thinking about you.
Just because all this money that we really kept and put it in her piggy bank. Honestly, her digital piggy bank. Go get some food or something like that, or what was recently? Someone brought us food when we got home. Other people created care packages for Tabitha. Like it was every church that I have ever served at, someone either called and or gave.
Every last one, yeah. And I would say this. I don't know where this is coming from. Like you talk about the strength of a black woman, right? Yeah, one thing about Yami, I was a mess. Yami was standing strong, man. I'm like, God, Lord, please, anointing oil everywhere. I'm talking about, Yen was sitting there just still typing up paper. But I know she was going through it, but she is so stoic, man. I mean, she was just like, both of us can't be all messed up, right?
And then he's sitting there wondering why. I was like, let me tell him.
But I want to, show that in front of people. Like, your strength was, like, unreal. You know what I mean?
Oh, let me go back real quick. Here's how Tim actually found out that it was bad.
Oh, yeah, let me tell that story. Oh, yeah, let me tell that story.
Because I also forgot.
Everything good. Everything good. I'm up there, we in Tabitha chilling. She happy, Tabitha talking junk, like telling people, I don't want nobody else's blood. I don't want the blood of Jesus. Like,
Did she say that?
Yeah, she said it's the blood of Jesus. But anyway, she says that, so the black doctor, what's her name? I hate to keep.
I don't know. The black doctor and the white doctor. They were all very nice.
Yeah, all of them. Her nurse, though, the daytime nurse was amazing.
Yeah, the sweet one. The one that checked, that saw that it was, anyway.
I'm going to tell you what Tabitha said about her. Then we go to is Tabitha said the reason she liked the daytime nurse, because the daytime nurse, she said she's firm like a mother, but kind too at the same time. That made Tabitha feel good, because the girl like, Tabitha, I need you to get up. And the whole time she's like, get up and walk. Tabitha liked that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like her mama.
But anyway,
a white version of her mama. Anyway, go ahead.
But she needed that right there. That nurse knew what she needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
very, very good.
But so I'm just sitting there chilling, everything good. Here go the black nurse come in. Oh man, we almost lost her yesterday. She looked so. I said, what? I said, hold on. You almost lost her. Oh yeah, she was spiraling. We didn't know what to do. So I'm sitting there looking at her like, because one thing, I want to make my wife look crazy. So I said, oh, okay, yeah, she was. Okay. Well, I'm glad yeah. So I called me like, what happened yesterday? She said, I just can't believe it. She was like, it's amazing how she went from yesterday to the doctor described like she was almost out of there, man. Was she?
But I don't know, because honestly, maybe that's why. Maybe.
But first of all, now that I'm knowing about the whole team came in there, they let me know they were putting together a plan. Like, man.
But also, I want you to understand that I really had no idea what was going on. There is when people like me, right? Because I'm a planner. I'm a strategic thinker, right? So at this point, I'm rendered helpless. At the point where she said blood transfusion, I couldn't even hear nothing else. Yeah. So it's very possible that when she was explaining what was going on, I blacked out. Yeah. I knew it was bad, because even when you're talking about she was spiraling, I didn't realize that was happening. I knew it was bad because of the thing. And that's the thing I was thinking from.
Apparently it was a lot worse than the thing. They said the nurse literally came in and said, she was almost like, so I'm sitting there playing with Tal with some Play-Doh. I look up, I said, what? She was almost out of there. Like, hold on, what do you mean? I don't know if she was exaggerating or not.
No, I don't know.
But she was like, it wasn't good.
No, when I walk it back in my mind, no.
She said that, like, the way Tabitha sitting up, said basically Tabitha was limp and just breathing. You ain't seen none of this, man. But she was like, so for her to see her like 9 hours later, you know what I mean? Yeah. Tabitha sitting up smiling. She was like, what in the world? She said that's how I always knew Tabitha should be a fighter. She said that, so. Whew. But even then though, when I told the doctor, because I don't know what it was. Someone told me, like, tell him to go. You don't know, you know what I mean? That's when they said, man, they got to explain to me about why they changed her medication. They said, it's about antibiotic. If they get it used to, if it's not working, you're supposed to change. They were like, why haven't nobody changed it? Like, they was thinking, like, this stuff could have been.
Yeah, we could have been resolved it.
Right, because I think they said after 3 days, your body get used to it. And they're no good. If they're not working after 3 days, you got to change it. You know what I mean?
When I tell you, for the most part, after she said blood, you have to understand, when she said blood transfusion, I'm like this. And everybody around me is, breathe. Mom, we need you to breathe. So at this point, and I really feel awful for my mama and my sister, because they got the brunt of how I really felt. And I don't, like, people are not really used to me emoting, right? Not breaking down. Maybe saying, like, or, you know, passionately or ha kind of thing. But, like, a complete, when I tell you I had a complete breakdown with them, I don't think, my mama has not heard me maybe, it must have been so bad because I was sitting outside the room. The little sweet nurse, I saw her, I could tell that she was trying not to listen, but she was also right there. And I'm trying to whisper, but obviously I'm bawling out of control. She puts her mask up, poor lady. She put her mask up, and I could tell she was bawling with me. Because I was just so sad. And honestly, I'm still really sad about what's going on.
You know,
what has happened.
You know, honestly, I still believe that Tabitha is the better end of sickle cell. What happened was this flu that's going around bad. It was the flu. If she would have never got sick, she would have never had this issue. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean,
but it happened. You know, but I'm gonna tell you something. Like, if y'all don't know how God, well, you know how everybody say God works, and God did something so different, right? And I didn't understand it at first, and because I didn't listen to the voice of a child. Tabitha told me, Daddy, I want to go home and I feel better. But I was like, oh no, the doctors know better. But she said, and she just rolled over. You know what I mean? Like she was like, I'm not gonna listen to it.
One thing about Tabitha is she was like, and I think we had said that. Yeah. It was like, she's not going to go home until she can't go home until she's not going to present as feeling good. Meanwhile, we're like, girl, are you faking? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, she's not gonna present as doing good until she really is. She feels comfortable.
Because I mean, it's crazy. Because we woke up that morning, had some popcorn. She was smiling. Then the doctor came in and said, "You going home today?" Tab just said, "I don't want to go home until I feel better." Right? I'm like, "You tripping?" You know what I mean?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to go home?
Right. And then, but this God saw something that we didn't see. So what? Because we was gonna be parents, like, you coming? God had to send a fever, man. You see what I'm saying?
One thing, I guess too, we need to maybe tune in. We need to revisit the things that we say about her. We say all the time that Tabitha is super aware. She is super alert. She is very cognizant of herself and situations.
Right.
And sometimes we don't trust it.
And if that people would have never came, Tabitha would have been home when she started spiraling. It could have been bad. You know what I mean? But God saw that this was happening. I don't know why He sent it like that, but He did. He sent the feed. And the lady was like, this is just too hot. She can't go home. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yeah, 103 is like, that's brain dead, right? Like, I just know that for me, and I think I said this, might have been when Pastor Tammy called and checked on us.
Shout out to Jared and Pastor Tammy. Jared was hitting me up. Pastor Jared. Yeah. Pastor Jared, he was hitting me up and checking on me, man.
There was a lot of people. It was really a lot of people.
Like, and that's another episode.
From Breathe, from Fresh Start, from like Mama T. I mean, my parents, Adonai Baptist Church in Miami, Florida. Like, Mama so many people.
Pops.
Oh my God. So many. Like,
Darren.
I just can't even. Oh God, there's so many of you guys to name that if we would have to devote a specific episode to everybody, right. Like, you know what I'm saying?
It was amazing, man. The outpour, man.
But and maybe I'll figure out a way to do that on social media. But I
can do. I just hear like DMX on. It was Lisa. That was just so many, man. It just so we really appreciate it, and then it really showed me like, man. You know, like, blood is, you know, they say blood is thicker than water, but I was showed differently, man.
Yeah.
I was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My blood, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even get a, hey, how she doing? You understand what I'm saying? Didn't even get a, hey, how she doing? Other than Jayla. And her brother, of course. But, you know what I mean? That's different, but, you know what I'm saying?
You're talking about
Jacob.
Tabitha's brother, yeah.
Yeah, But those on too, man. Nothing.
And
Ramon kept
and then
kept on tap.
But these not
Terrence.
But yeah, and you had friends. Yeah, you had friends. You say blood relationship. Yeah, Sonny, all
Sonny, all them. Dan hooking us up yesterday, just doing what he can do just to make sure with the herbs, you know what I mean? So
this is gonna be a long episode.
So I'm gonna let you go first. What's your theology?
I'll be honest with you. This was really hard faith-wise for me. And someone was saying, you know, I'm not discounting what fathers experience when they have kids in distress, right? But before it was us, you know, all three of us or whatever, it was just her and I for a long time. Or maybe one could argue, well, she was with me way before she was with you, kind of thing. But there is a weight that I have not yet resolved, and a frustration with God that I have not found peace with about what happened to Tabitha. I think my theology in this case would be that God is God enough that God can handle my sadness and frustration about the circumstances that we just experienced. And I'm not going to, what most people try to do is tell you to just push it away, you know. I'm not doing that. I'm not saying that God and I are not on speaking terms, because that's far from it. But I am so hurt by whatever this was. And I am still, literally as we're talking, still carrying such a heavy weight about what has happened to her that I think will only be resolved with time. So my theology is that God can handle it. My relationship with God is not fragile, so fragile that God can't handle the truth of how I feel right now. What's your theology?
My theology and all this is that it's kind of was on the same, like, you know, going through processing, because I always often take time to process what happened, right, and think about it. And I would ask God the same questions, like, man, God, like, why would you allow her? She's a good kid. She's even said it. I'm a good kid. Why is this happening? You know what I mean? But at the same time, I had to realize that God is so much God, I knew that God was going to bring her out. You know what I mean? Like, we were asked this question, like, well, I hate when I hear people say stuff like, God, everything happened for a reason, right? And I'd be like, tell me the reason why Tabitha got to go through this. What's the reason? That makes no sense to me. You understand what I'm saying? That makes no sense to me. Don't tell me that everything happened for a reason, right? Don't tell me that, because I don't see the reason right now, right? But I do know that if we believe that God, I personally don't believe this, but when the ones that say that God is causing stuff like this to happen, I guess I have to rest on the fact that if God caused it, He also going to be the one to bring her out. So I find peace in that. You see what I'm saying? That's my theology. That I know that Tabitha love God. If we can believe in the Word of God, God is also going to love Tabitha back and get her through it, whatever it's going to be. And that's why I find my peace at. That's my theology.
Not the happiest episode, but it's real. All right, don't forget, we'll be on the Inspirational Love Hour, and I'll put the information in the show notes so that you can come be a part of it. Make sure that you're following us at Love and Theology, at the Love and Theology podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And if you have a question, comment, or you want us to talk about something, hit us up at loveandtheology@gmail.com. Okay.
We love y'all. Peace.
I know I've questioned many things in this world, but I never had to question your love. So I know one thing's for sure. I can put trust in real love, your love.
For every mom who ever missed a meal so they would have enough to let their babies eat. Fathers who grind every day to provide more than good advice. Charlie Sheen, taking everything you gotta take to bring the baby bacon home and put it on the table. You are not forgotten. Legacies are made in our darkest hours. God is watching. Keep your faith. Don't bend, don't fold. There's a lyric I quote. Tell me trouble don't last always. There's a Christ I know who revives the soul of the one who lose their way. Pursue the one who promised us a peace of mind. I tried to fly high on my choice of vice, but then I found Christ was the road to life.
Many things in this world, but I never had to question your love. So I know one thing's for sure. I can put trust in a real love.